They're back to 500. It's happened. It's 54 games in. Old adage is you win 54 games, you lose 54 games all 30 Major League Baseball teams will do this every year. And then what do you do with the remaining 54? That's how you determine your season. And right now the Cardinals have held serve with the first 54. They've gotten through it and they broke even. And
hopefully that wasn't the remaining 54 because that would tell you they're going 81 and 81.
Right, yeah. Which, I mean, it could get you in the playoffs. Who knows?
I don't think so.
Yeah?
I don't think it's going to happen.
Right.
No.
Probably not.
What do you think? 84 wins? What makes you feel
more
decent?
Like 83 could do it.
83 could do it.
I think it's around that. Anywhere between 83 and 85 is going to be the sixth place NL wildcard team.
All right, we'll see.
But, I mean, the fact that they've gotten back to this point at the end of May, going to start a new series against a tough team here very soon, it's an accomplishment, I think. It keeps hope alive. It does not save the season. I guess for now it does. It doesn't mean that you're for sure making the playoffs, but it gives you that, I guess, that confidence back. Folks that were about to maybe lose hope, all of a sudden have it back now.
About to. I mean, people were out.
Most people were, but then there were still a few, I'm sure, that were hanging on. Now those folks are justified now.
They were out, but they were still watching every game or listening to every game.
No, I get
it. They're not tuned out. They're just people were emotionally.
They're just sticking around just to see what happens. And sure enough, I mean, they were rewarded for it. They look a little bit better now because the Cardinals have given them what I think we all knew they could be this year on paper. And I mean, let's not just say Andre Palante today. I almost said Josh Gibson. That's on my mind today as well. But Kyle Gibson yesterday with his start, stabilizing things, getting the victory, and what he's provided, along with other guys in the starting rotation here and there, have been really keeping the Cardinals afloat. And now that they're finally getting the bats going to a degree, I mean, it was awful. It was awful during the first part of May, last part of April, with how they were trying to score runs. And now that they've fixed that to a degree, it's not all the way back, but they've gotten more power swings from some likely and unlikely candidates. I think you're looking at a team that now has hit that reset button all of a sudden and say, okay, maybe we can still have our shot at chasing down these teams.
Yeah, and I like to look at that last 15 days counter on MLB.com as they sort the statistics for me. Number 1 in baseball over the last 15 days in OPS, the Yankees. Number 2 in OPS, the Royals. Number 3 in OPS, the Cardinals. So that's over 15 days. And if you look over the last 30, the Cardinals are tied for 5th in OPS in baseball over the last month. Right now, I know the early part of May was bad, and it's included in this. It just shows how much the turnaround has been extremely real for this Cardinals team. And I think, like you said, this is more the offense that we expected them to be at the beginning of the year. The fact that it coincides with Wilson Contreras leaving the lineup, who was your only hitter that I would say was performing good before his injury. Like, you had barely anybody else above a 700 OPS before he got injured, and he was above 900, and now you've got a bunch of guys. I think Brenden Donovan might have even gotten there today with a multi-hit game. Like, they are coming alive offensively, plenty of time left, plenty of baseball still to be played, where now it's like, okay, the offense and the lineup is settling into what you expected it to be all along, so you don't have to think about, okay, at the deadline, how do we address it? No, you really don't maybe need to address it all that much. You can just know that you're the team that you thought you should be. Bullpen, you may need some help. Every team that's a contender probably is always going to be looking bullpen just because of injuries that accumulate along the way, and the Cardinals are starting to have some of that hit them, with Keenan Middleton likely not coming back, Nick Robertson goes down, etc. Rotation is really going to be the one spot that I think you're going to maybe harp on, and we'll see what what becomes of him, and we'll see how Palante goes beyond today's start. He's going to be in there in that number 5 spot for a minute. but it's like the Cardinals can have like a level base understanding of what they are as a team that can then allow the front office to add. Like, I think 500 is good enough to where you're a buyer. You're going to be buying at the deadline if you maintain a 500 or better record, simply because of the opportunities in the wild card and how wide open it really can be, especially in this National League. So my hope would be the Cardinals have at least extended. Like, we're not talking about firing people anymore. We're talking about, okay, look in the other direction. How can you build and add to this team? That's a good mindset to have.
875 KTGR. Give us your thoughts here on the show as the Cardinals get back to 500 today with their win over the Reds. You know, it's really interesting to me because, yes, if they are around a 500 team for another month or so, and they're getting to the trade deadline, and they haven't maybe improved their record way too much over what they have right now, but that still, again, that puts you more in the buying territory. Yeah, I mean, I would think for sure you're looking at the starting pitching market and saying, okay, well, what is out there that could improve our team now? If you're really looking for maybe even a guy that you would stick in your playoff rotation today, right? That would be who you're shopping for. But I wonder that if that's the type of team they are, if they're still kind of middling by that point, does it mean that you have enough faith in the offense to be enough by the time that rolls around and you don't also address that?
Yeah, because what would you even do? Like, positionally?
Well, I don't know, but again, it's a wing and a prayer that holds up, because we've seen them not hold up for a good month, and then you're left with all this. The question is, how all in do the Cardinals want to be on that? If they do go for the starter, well, then why not just try and go with more if you're actually making sure that your team is playoff caliber going forward. I think it's
like, if you're going to bother to do one, wouldn't you say
I would think that
committed?
It warrants a move maybe for the other side too, if you're trying to be that. But again, maybe it's determined by whether one side of that coin outperforms what we expect they could be, and the Cardinals' record becomes something like 10 games over 500, hypothetically. I would think that means that one unit, either the offense or the starting pitching rotation, shows you enough to say, all right, maybe we don't need to add because they've outperformed what we expect them to do, and we think they'll be fine come September, October, whatever games we might be playing that are meaningful down the stretch. But if you're a middling team, I don't think that we have that changed of an outlook of either the rotation or the offense. And I would say right now, yeah, they're doing good, but both could use a boost if you're really serious about it.
I double down and ask you again, what do you do? Like, what's the move that you can reasonably make for a bat? Where do you? I mean, I just don't really see that there is one to be made.
There could be an outfield. I mean, I think
maybe center field,
the best one. Yeah,
but you figure you're getting Tommy Edman back, right? Like, that's your we made a trade sort of thing.
That could also be that's still kind of an if going forward. You don't know how effective he'll be after coming back from that injury.
Or when.
When is a big question as well. I mean, you do have Nootbaar still out there. You guess Jordan Walker, but how can you rely on Jordan Walker at that point when you're again, you're thinking higher. You're thinking how all in do we want to be?
No, I don't think you are. Not when it comes to Jordan Walker. Like, you're thinking Jordan Walker is our future, so if and when he's your ready future, to be back,
but we're talking about the here and now.
And he's your present as well. They're not going to make a move to block Jordan Walker any further than he's already blocked. There's not a position that is honestly of need. And look, I just read it off. The Cardinals have a top 5 OPS the last 30 days, which includes a brutal stretch at the beginning of May. So I would say that, no, they have turned the corner definitively as an offense. Like, they've been it's not a small sample. They've been doing it for multiple weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then if you take a 30-day sample size, they're one of the best offenses in baseball, according to OPS. And positionally, they don't have a lot of room. The one spot that I would say I think it's worth considering a trade for this position, I don't know who would be out there to be this, but a utility infielder that can play shortstop that you kind of swap out Brandon Crawford with as the season goes along. Like, he's not providing value offensively or defensively to this team. He's providing the value of they know that if Mason Wynn gets hurt, Brandon Crawford has been an everyday shortstop. I think they would maybe look at that. Like, it's interesting that I think of this at this moment because they're going into Philadelphia this weekend and we get to see maybe the trade play out. Edmundo Sosa versus Jojo Romero. They need like what Edmundo Sosa was to the Cardinals there for a while, but obviously they end up making the trade for Jojo, which has worked out. But just to kind of, do you know offhand, guess at Edmundo Sosa's OPS this year for the Phillies.
Is it bad?
In 80 at bats. I'm not gonna tip this off in either direction.
I'll bet it's bad.
Take a guess in 80 at bats what his OPS is.
Say it's around 620.
It is 1,000.
Oh, okay, all right, I'm wrong.
He is on base 400 and slugging 600.
Great.
In 80 at bats, and he's playing regularly over the past, at least the past week. So I think we're going to see him. I don't know if they've had an injury or they've just been saying, wow, Edmundo Sosa's leading MLB in triples. Like, I don't know what's going on, but he's been fantastic for them so far this year. But like, they need if you think back to what Sosa was for the Cardinals, they need Brandon Crawford, but better, because he just hasn't really provided a lot of value. That would be the one thing that I think could give your bench a little more utility.
He was only there anyway because of Tommy Edman's injury too, right? I mean, just that was basically.
Well, yes and no. They wanted Edman to be a center fielder. That's why he was there. They didn't want Edman to have to be the backup shortstop. Now, could that have just been a nice way to phrase it? And the truth was they knew at that point in spring, like, oh no, this Edman thing's not going well. Yeah, maybe that was just convenient to say, no, we want Edman to be the center fielder when he comes back and not have to bring two gloves. But I think more than anything, Crawford was signed, yes, because they weren't sure about Edman, but I also think they prioritized getting Edman to the outfield. But also because Mason Wynn had a back injury in spring, and they realized what happens if we don't have Edman and we don't have Mason Wynn. Yeah. We really don't have a shortstop in the org. So they basically were late to the market as well, because Tim Anderson signed. There are like 3 backup shortstop veteran types that signed in the same week in spring, and then they jumped on Brandon Crawford. That's the only obvious upgrade that I see to this position player group, would be to trade for a guy like that. And I don't even know who out there exists in the trade market to be that guy. Utility infielder who plays shortstop and has done it is about all that I think you could need. I trust the Cardinals offense completely, barring a breakdown of the health. Like if Nootbaar's on the IL for a long time and Edman doesn't come back and they lose another key guy like a Donovan or a Gorman, then I'm suddenly going, well, maybe you make a move. But until then, I don't think there's a spot for somebody to play. You've honestly got, when health returns, more bodies than you do positions to play those players every day. Like Alec Burleson, you want to keep playing him, but if you bring up Walker, you're going to have to pick somebody that sits, as it is already, barring a Nootbaar IL stint, which, again, could be coming. We'll see.
It's interesting, but the Cardinals, it's better to be thinking about those scenarios than the other way around.
Oh, it is.
And
a lot more fun, too.
Yeah, a lot more fun to see what potentially they could do. And, again, this weekend could determine a lot about how they start off the month and what we think about this team going forward as a player in the NL Central. And so this weekend against the Phillies is going to be an interesting one as they make that trip after winning 2 out of 3 against Cincinnati.